everyone, and welcome back to the Joseph Ryder Anderson podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Anderson himself, and I am coming back to you after a bit of a break. I know I haven't done an episode in probably a month, but July has been actually a really big month, and I did sit down a couple weeks ago to record a 100 Girlfriends episode, but I accidentally messed up on my tech setup, so I did not get a good recording out of that. But we'll take a look at 100 Girlfriends today. We'll take a look at the really cool Chainsaw Man set. And so I know this is a big one for a lot of people. There's been a lot of signs it's going to be a big one for a lot of people. And it's kind of cool to me too. So I'm not like the biggest Chainsaw Man fan in the world per se, but I do like it. I've seen the movie, I've seen the anime. The movie was particularly good. I think it's so cool that there's like an entire deck themed around that movie, or two decks. I think the whole actually purple energy color is pretty much themed around that movie, and that's so cool to see that, especially when that movie is so just visually pleasing and such a solid movie all around. So we're gonna take a look at Chainsaw Man. We're gonna look at some of the spoilers from Bleach. So I did write an article on that on the website showing some of the Bleach spoilers that have come out of Japan. They're getting Bleach Volume 3 a little bit ahead of us. They're actually quite a bit ahead of us. They're getting it in September, and we're not going to get it until November. But we do have some spoilers around the advanced deck, some of the cards coming to Bleach Purple, as well as some of the new, bigger raid characters that we're going to get in Bleach Volume 3. So let's go ahead and dive into everything. This is the big July update. We're going to do everything at once. So stick with me here in just a second. All right, everyone. So let's go ahead and dive into the 100 Girlfriends who really something love you, like times a bunch. This set is one that it was trending really high originally on the secondary card market. You can see it's down now quite a bit, down to 106, which is still relatively high. But I will say that of all the Union Arena sets that I've covered to date, 100 Girlfriends was actually probably one of the less popular ones. I do think that this set is going to appeal much more to collectors and players, although a Volume 2 for this set was announced, so perhaps it will get stronger if that ever comes, or I'm sure it will come to the English version, but when that comes to the English version. I think the really big thing here, though, is the collector side of things, and especially there's a couple of things. There's this triple star rare card that has connecting artwork. I would love to see this in more Union Arena sets where we have connecting artwork. That's just something that people love from a collecting standpoint, to be able to collect a set like that. But I think the really big kicker is these serialized hand signed action points. Oh, I realized I spelled this wrong. It should be hand signed, not hand singed. But hand-signed action point cards, there's 6 of them in this set, which is a lot more than we normally get. So I think that's going to be driving a lot of interest, as well as Union Arena in general has been doing a really good job of giving us more options for box toppers. And 100 Girlfriends has lots of alts that you can get from box toppers. These are gold alts as opposed to the silver alts that we will be getting in Chainsaw Man. So that's really everything going on with. I've already gotten, I think, one of these winners, these 100 Girlfriend winners from a store tournament, which is pretty cool. But that's pretty much everything going on. There also wasn't a release event for 100 Girlfriends. It was kind of funny because I'm so used to getting everything ready on the website for release events, and then there wasn't one. And I forgot that it didn't really come out until July 10th. So really more of a smaller set, but still the fact that there's a smaller set the same month as when a massive set like Chainsaw Man comes out, that's definitely pretty, adds a lot of fuel to the fire, let's put it that way. So on the deck side of things, there's a lot of decks. These are a bit memey, meaning that like they're a little bit like, they're not necessarily something super competitive players are going to be interested in, but definitely decks that are kind of fun. Like this one's the Rentaro family. It's really just about boosting up this Rentaro to a damage 2 impact 1. This would have been like playable back in the Gen 1. If you ever hear me say that, Gen 1 is sort of like the first year of decks. Basically everything before Kenshin came out, you could probably get away with actually playing this deck, but by today's standards it does feel a bit slow. But we do have the Hanazono family deck that is kind of a bit stronger. It does have this 6th cost Hahari character that has some free play mechanics. This Hikari 4 cost is actually really good with Nullify Impact and Impact, as well as a Win Plate effect. But I think these two decks are really much more on the meme tier. They get a bit stronger once you get into the green decks. The green decks are quite a bit stronger. This one's okay, but really the ones that get a lot better are anything with Nano in it, because Nano's you're going to be your free play character. So Nano has a really strong free play effect that if you were to pair that with just about any deck, that's a strong play. So your green decks are going to be stronger. The single strongest one is this Kasuri and Nano. This does have the Impact 1 Snipe combo that you can unlock through various different things, and it does have a very powerful free play effect via the 4-cost Nano. So that's really cool. I think this is definitely the strongest deck, but again, it's probably high A at best. It's certainly not S tier. So this is just not a set that necessarily really competitive players are going to be looking to play. One deck that I've seen that's really popular, this is the deck I've actually seen at locals the most, and that's the Hikari and Karain deck. And this deck, again, Gen 1, this would have been a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you have really powerful removal via the Karain that basically lets you sideline a 4,000 BP character, but there's not a huge drawback. The only drawback is your opponent gets to draw cards if it's over, I think if it's over 3,500. Let's go take a look. You know, we can actually open these in the builder. So this is over at josephryderanderson.com, by the way, and you can easily open these decks in the JWA builder, premium or regular, whichever one that you want. And that's probably a better way to look at these. But the Karain, you may choose one character with 4,000 or less. If you do, your opponent draws up to 1. If the sideline character has 3,500 or more BP, 2 instead. So it's you're basically giving your opponent resources while sidelining. I don't think that's the worst trade-off in the world. There's a lot of these 4-cost 4,000 BP raid characters that do this removal effect that have much worse trade-offs than Karain does. And then you do have access to this really powerful Hikari. And you have other powerful characters too. I really think the only problem with this deck is it does not have a reliable free play. If you were to swap in a reliable free play mechanic, then this deck would be considerably stronger. For example, if you just had access to that Nano that I was talking about, this Nano is a really strong draw card. And then you may place a card from your hand to your sideline. If you do reduce AP cost of the next card with 3 or less required energy used from your hand this turn by 1. So you can use that to free play events or characters. So if it had something like that, it would be a lot stronger. But as it is, the green deck, the green decks in general just are a bit more modern. This one's actually pretty good. Let's go open this in the builder. This one's actually, I like this one a lot. I think you could kind of, it really just depends on which way you want to go. I think that the Kasuri has the access to the Snipe Impact, but I do like the removal you get in the Nano and Shizuka build. This one, you can get some added removal. So the Shizuka, choose up to one character with 4 or more required energy on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting. If there are 4 or more other characters on your field with 3 or less required energy, you may place one card from your hand into your sideline. If you do, return it to their hand instead. So you're getting like a bounce removal there, which is pretty cool. So I think that's really cool. I also really like this Nano. I wish that every green deck had this 3-cost Nano that actually makes the green color trigger good, because anybody who's played green knows that the green color trigger is usually not good. But this one makes it good. It extends the reach of what you can play and lets you draw. It just turns a green color trigger into a really good trigger. So that's sort of 100 Girlfriends in a nutshell. More of a collector's set, but some of those green decks do get a bit stronger. But what about Chainsaw Man? Chainsaw Man is going to be a set that I think will have a really big impact on the English meta. So obviously these decks vary in strength. Let's go and talk about the strongest first, because this deck really is quite exciting. That's the Rize deck. And anybody who's seen Chainsaw Man, the movie, knows why this deck is so cool. I don't really know how to say it other than that. If you haven't seen the movie, I really recommend seeing it. I don't even know. Don't get mad at me, big Chainsaw Man fans. I feel like you could probably go and see the movie without even having seen Chainsaw Man. You would still enjoy it because it's that good of a movie. To me, it really blends like multiple genres. I was watching it. I was like, it jumped from like sort of like a mystery to a like rom-com to hardcore action, and then sort of to like more drama. It just has a lot going on in it for the kind of movie that it is. I definitely would recommend seeing it if you haven't. But let's go over to the premium builder. This deck, if we look at Deck Sensei, this deck just really hits all the marks for what you want from a top tier deck. It's just got everything. And I don't know. I think this will probably be the deck that I build from the set, assuming that it's like at all affordable, and it probably won't be. You're going to see these cards being I'm just gonna guess for the fun of it, but I would say Bomb Devil is gonna probably be a $30 card. Rize is gonna probably be similar. These cards are just gonna be extremely expensive because of how popular this deck is gonna be. You're combining high level competitive deck. To me, this is clearly an S tier deck. This is the clearest S tier deck we've had since maybe Sakamoto, Yellow Sakamoto, but I think to me this is even more of a clear cut S tier deck than Sakamoto. It just has everything you need. So one of the things that makes this deck so strong is that you get insane removal. You get damage to impact 1 via the Bomb Devil. You get insane removal via the Raid Bomb Devil. You can even spread damage around to take out a big BP character, or you can like spread damage around to take out small BP characters. So it's a heavy removal deck, really a strong counter to any aggro decks out there. The only drawback really is that you'll have to have had sideline Denji. So this is a really funny mechanic. When I was studying this deck and testing it, I kind of just started cracking up from the start because of how much this mirrors the movie. And I won't spoil anything too much from the movie, although the movie kind of spoils it itself as you watch the movie. But let's just say if you've seen the movie, it's really based on the relationship between Rize and Denji. And that's really the only thing. You have to be sidelining your own Denji, but you get so much free play. You have this insane, like, I wish every deck had this 3-cost Rize that lets you free play a character, a couple of different characters. You can play another Rize or another Denji or a Cafe Crossroads, which I'm not running in this particular list, but check out the Cafe Crossroads because it is a strong card. You can restand AP with this Rize, this draw card. If it's your turn, you can choose one of these. You can reduce BP to help spread some of that BP removal around to take out removals against weaker opponents. If it is your turn and a Denji is on your field, has been sidelined this turn, switch one of your AP cards to active. So you just have so much AP restand, insane removal. I've never seen a character off the top of my head. I can't think of a character that let's just read this. If it's your turn and Rize is the only card with 4,000 more BP. So if you do, you can sideline one other character on your field. So right here is a perfect chance to sideline that Denji. And then you can force an opponent's character to lose 5,000 BP until the end of the turn. So that's removal. You can also do this just more basic removal. If you want to combine it with others to take out chump blockers, you can take out big defenders, chump blockers, as well as gaining impact. So that's just so strong when you combine that with all the free play you get. The Bomb Devil is not really reducing BP, but it is switching to active. So if Denji is on your field and has been sidelined this turn, this character gains damage too. If Rize is the only card with 4,000 more BP on your field or in your sideline, you may sideline one other character on your field. If you do, switch this character and one of your AP cards to active, and give this character 1,000 BP and impact 1. So that's your damage to impact 1. 2 AP, but coming in active. Really, most top tier decks have either a snipe impact or a damage to impact 1 or something like that. So there are exceptions to that, but I think like that is a clear sign of being a stronger deck. And you have a lot of, like I said, you have a lot of that free play. You do need the free play though to deal with the fact that you're sidelining your own Denji quite a bit. And so Denji really is just getting sidelined in this deck. He's not doing a whole lot else, but that's really, really in line with the movie. You have this fake 2-cost Denji, lets you draw a card, sideline a card. It's really, really strong. So yeah, this deck is going to be pretty nuts. I think just the combo of just the popularity of the movie, the popularity of Rize as a character, and just how strong this removal is. This is really, I think removal decks aren't necessarily the king of the meta right now, unless if they're snipe impact, but I think this is going to bring back that sort of traditional purple BP reducing removal deck. So it's really exciting. This is the deck that I'm most excited about. I think this is really the only one that's going to be S tier, but I think the other one on my list, number 2 spot, has the best chance of the rest to be up an upper tier deck. This deck does have a lot going for it. It does have, I think, really to understand this deck strategy, you want to look at your 6-cost Chainsaw Man. This guy is really strong. He has a lot built into one character. He's switching to active. He's going to gain impact on the. He's going to switch to active after his first attack, so he basically gets 2 attacks. As long as he has a card face down under it, he's going to gain impact on the second attack. And then you can then basically, if you have the Pokita underneath him, you can free play that Pokita. So he has a free play built into him. That Pokita is really important because you're going to be using that to do a couple of different things. When he's played, you get to look at the top part of your deck, place the top of your deck or into your sideline. But you can also activate main, sideline this character, and play one red Denji card with one or less required energy from your sideline set to active on your energy line. So, and then you're going to put this character underneath him. So this is mimicking the anime as well, but it's going to allow you, between comboing this with the 6 cost, you're going to be able to just keep recycling that play, which is really, really strong. I think you also have Power as your secondary raid character. Power's really strong. She's mostly here for her removal, so you're going to raid her, force a block, draw a card when she wins a battle. But the really cool thing too is she's got this defensive ability that basically, as long as she's not removed by BP reducing effects, so in the rare battle this might not help you much into the bomb devil, but as long as she's not being sidelined by BP reducing effects, you can basically choose another character to be sidelined. And so that means you can, if you have her on the field and you have this Chainsaw Man, 4-cost Chainsaw Man, this guy is going to unlock a lot of benefits from being sidelined. He's got Nullify Impact in a pinch, but when sidelined, you can draw 2 cards. That's great. So instead of losing your power, you force that over to the Chainsaw Man, you draw 2 cards. Or you can, if this character has a face down card under it, you can play this card set to active onto your front line. So you basically get a free 4,000 BP character. You don't get the sideline onto the power. So you have like this really powerful defensive maneuvers. There's a lot of things. I can't really like get into all of that off the top of my head. There's a lot of like plays that unlocks though, both offensively if you get hit by a special, and defensively as well to unlock additional blocks. There's just a lot of plays that unlocks. So I think of all the other decks, this one has the most potential to be S tier. These 2 decks in my books are by far the strongest from the set. And then when we move down to the next rung, the decks do get noticeably weaker. So the Makima deck is really interesting. The deck that this one reminds me of most is the Purple Unideck, which is a deck I play a lot, but it's not as good as that deck. You get, it's event quote unquote focus because basically your Makima and your movie date cards turn everything into events. So a friend of mine at Locals mentioned she's using people as events, kind of as tools, just the way she does in the anime, and that's exactly right. So everything becomes an event, and by playing these different events, you unlock things like this 4-cost Denji with Nullify Impact. You can only activate this ability if you've used 2 or more event cards, right? But with Makima on the field, everything's an event card, right? So you switch this character to active, so you get that. You can have this Angel guy who's pretty cool in the movie. If Makima's on your field, this character gains all abilities listed if you have used the required number of event cards, gains 1,000 BP, and then can't be blocked. So you can push him up, close out the game. If your opponent's walled up with 4,000 BP or more characters, it's a very strong play in a lot of matchups. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. This is a typical, again, it's like Song, because a lot of people I think may not understand Song, but it's a lot like Song or Shadow Army, where your main thing is just boosting up all of your characters to be strong attackers. So you can basically make anybody a strong attacker and just pummeling through your opponent. You have this 4-cost Makima that can grant impact. You have a bunch of ways to boost BP. So you're just looking to overwhelm your opponent with smaller bodies. You also have a bunch of ways to restand APs. So really the only thing that this deck is lacking, I think it would probably likely be S tier if it had it, is if it had some removal or if it had some damage to impact 1, something like that. But you can't really do that with this deck too well. This deck with Rize doesn't really mix super well because Rize has that sort of stipulation that makes her have to be kind of her own deck, where you can't have more like another character with 4,000 more BP. So these decks are pretty distinct, don't overlap super well, and as such, this deck is a bit weaker. And then the weakest deck in Chainsaw Man by a bit, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to say it's a bad deck. It's still, this is still a decently strong deck. I think you could certainly call it A tier if you wanted to, and that is the Aki Himeno deck. And this one, it's really, really cool. It's almost there. If it had a little more going for it, and maybe people will find a way to hybrid this out to make it a little bit better. But the really big selling point, I think, of this Aki, I don't even know how to say his last name, but this Aki deck, is that he does sideline himself eventually. People who are fans of the anime will understand that. but he can gain snipe and impact at just 4 energy, so that makes him in some ways even better than the Yellow Sakamoto deck that gains it at 5. But there are some definite difficulties around unlocking that, and some definite trade-offs where if you do unlock it, essentially Aki is going to sideline himself at the start of your turn. So there's some it's definitely a double-edged sword. You get some multi-attack via the Himeno that's going to let you, if you sideline Himeno at the end of his attack, you can basically swap in other characters, and you have a lot of strong characters that you can swap in, like the Makima, or you can even just grant the BP, swap in a character from your energy line and have them be another strong attacker. So sort of an interesting mix of snipe impact with something kind of like Speed of Sound Sonic, which we've seen before, or Blue Aincrad. Not a bad deck by any means. I think a lot of people are going to have fun with this one, but it's just lacking a little too much. It needs more free play. It needs something else to make it a bit more strong and reliable and consistent. As it is right now, it's more of an upper mid-tier deck. So that's Chainsaw Man. That's largely what I wanted to go over today. Chainsaw Man, 100 Girlfriends. But I think the other thing I want to go over is the cool stuff that's coming out about Bleach. For those who don't know, Bleach is one of my favorite anime of all time. I read the manga. I think it might have been the first manga I ever read when I was a kid. I used to bike to the local library and pick up Bleach mangas. I'd go to the bookstore and pick up Bleach mangas. And I've read it all the way through. So it's so exciting. I went and saw the Bleach movie. It wasn't really a movie. It was like the first 3 episodes of the final arc of the 1,000-Year Blood War. I saw that in theaters. But Bleach is big right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Bleach, the final arc is coming out. This is like an anime that has sort of spanned decades by now. Kind of had a big comeback story. And this Bleach set, I think, the more I see, I already assumed Bleach would be big. But the more I see of Bleach Volume 3, the bigger I think it's going to be. And so they did show off these 2 characters, which are going to be a really big part of the advanced deck. I don't know that I've not seen official confirmation that the Rukia is in the advanced deck, but I assume she is, because the 3-cost Ichigo is in the advanced deck. I think of the 2, so Ichigo is cool because he does unlock some additional filtering and sideline fueling, which anybody who's played Purple Bleach knows that's really necessary. But I think the bigger ad from these is the Rukia. This is a fake 2-cost Rukia that has a lot of really cool things. You can see in my translation here. Thanks to AI for translating this for me really, really well. But when a character raids on this character, choose one of the following effects. Look at the top card of your deck and place it on top of your deck or into your sideline. That's an option to fuel your sideline further. Or choose up to one of your Rukias on the field, and this character cannot be blocked by characters with 4,000 or more BP. So this is more and more becoming a staple in decks, this whole not being able to be blocked by 4,000 or more BP. It's yet another way to close out games. And it's I know I play progressive a lot, and there's a strong progressive character that has that. So, and on play, it has a win play that look at the top card of your deck and place on top of your deck into your sideline. So you just get a lot of ways to fuel your sideline. It should make it faster to hit those higher numbers that you need with Purple Bleach. The Purple Bleach, Ichigo and Rukia that we already have, they're still going to be the stars of the deck from what it looks like. They're just getting a lot of support. But really the only thing we're missing, getting this fake 2-cost is huge. Getting additional sideline fuel. There wasn't really like a natural additional 3-cost that fit this deck. So now you can pretty much run 2 Ichigos if you want. But really all we're missing now is we do need a free play to make that deck stronger. There needs to be a free play purple character. And I don't know if we're going to get it. I think if we don't get it, Purple Bleach still will not be S tier. If we do get it, Bleach can definitely be S tier with what we're seeing so far from this advanced deck. Look at some of the other spoilers. So no card text revealed from these so far. We have seen that the Grimmjow, there was a Grimmjow that was revealed. So go check that out on the website. But there's some of these alt art cards. I think these are double star cards have been revealed. At least their art has. But I think what the bigger thing here is it's showing you. This is probably the Grimmjow right here, actually, that they showed. But it's showing you, giving you an idea of what the archetypes are going to look like with Volume 3. It looks from here that Yaruichi is going to play a big role. Maybe she'll have her own deck, or maybe she'll have a deck with like Kisuke or something like that. This guy getting a big raid character is really cool. This one might be pairing with Yamamoto. There's already some synergy existing with Shinsui and Yamamoto. Getting a high energy character like this, that makes me think that we're probably going to see some additional synergy for Yamamoto. Who knows what Aizen's going to get up to? That's a little fishy, but that'd be cool. Looks like we get a 2 AP cost Orihime, so we'll see what that's about. Could be buffing up the blue Ichigo strategy, so we'll have to wait and see. And these are the alts. These are just gorgeous. Holy cow, look at this. Gorgeous alts. Any Bleach fan is just like basically going to pass out if they pull one of these. And here's what the packaging looks like from the advanced deck. All the cards are foil in the advanced deck too. I think, did we see that yet? I'm not sure if I shared that. Here they are. The foil cards. These are all foil. Look at this. I mean, these decks are going to be so hard to get a hold of. People are just going to freak out at being able to bling out there. One of the first decks that ever came out in the game. And hopefully that we finally get justice done to it, right? Because Purple Bleach really never worked at full power. I know at one point Renji Rush was a big deal, but it was never intended to be a Renji Rush deck, right? It was intended to be a Rukia Ichigo deck. We had the zero cost taken away from us when the deck first came out. We didn't get the zero cost until it was essentially too late, and the meta had already moved on to the point where Rukia Ichigo couldn't be dominant. So hopefully that's rectified for us over here in the English version. We can see Purple Bleach rise to the top again. That's my big hope. As you can see here, it still is centered on the combo of Ichigo and Rukia. And here we have the Bleach Volume 3 booster pack. So that's pretty cool. That's everything I wanted to go over, from 100 Girlfriends to Chainsaw Man to Bleach Volume 3 that's coming up in November. If you like that, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out josephryderanderson.com. Follow me on X7. You can find on the website josephryderanderson.com. All the links to the social, the Discord, all that. I post a lot on X, so if you're not on X, go follow me over there and see all the stuff as it's happening. But until next time, have fun, stay safe, and keep on battling.